The flash forward starts by giving us a nice long look at Matthew Fox's almost nude body, and it's probably not a coincidence that this was around the same time when he proudly announced he had started shaving his chest. I don't get it either. It's then revealed that he hooked up with Kate after the trial. Excuse me as I try to care. Then he reads Alice in Wonderland to Aaron. A story that operates on dream logic and collapses the second you try to make sense of it. What a coincidence. Jack gets called in to see Hurley, who's now convinced they're all dead after Charlie keeps coming to see him. On his last visit, he asked Hurley to give Jack a message that he wasn't supposed to raise Aaron.
Does that make any sense?
No, that doesn't make any sense.
I completely agree. It doesn't make sense. And like I said all the way back in Raised by Another, we will never learn what super terrible bad thing will happen if Claire doesn't raise Aaron. And Jack's response to this is to ask Kate to marry him. Oh my god, you've raised the dreaded specter of Taco Night. You're not prepared for the consequences. And then he sees Hillary as his father in the hospital waiting room. And on this, I have to skip ahead a bit and reveal that Hillary's entire motivation for everything he's doing is to get off the island. And yet, here he is, off the island. Any of the big fans out there want to explain this one to me? I'm honestly curious if you've come up with something. When he comes home, Kate is in the middle of the standard cliché super secret adulterous phone call with an obviously fake story about who it was. A bit later he confronts her about it, and he really has to push and push until Kate finally spills the beans that she was doing something that she promised Sawyer she would do. Now remember back in orientation when I said that Jack looked like a complete emo in retrospect because the writing hung Matthew Fox out to dry? This is the same thing. When we find out what Kate was doing, it is nowhere, and I mean nowhere, as big a deal as this scene is making it out to be. So we're just left to wonder why the hell she went to so much effort to hide it from him. After all, it's clear that Jack's problem here isn't so much with what she was doing per se, but that she's making such a huge goddamn deal over how he can't possibly ever know about it. Just like what Sarah did to him with the mystery man she left him for. But it's not like Jack can stand on his own high horse, because then the conversation turns to Aaron and he gives us this little treasure of a line.
Your son. You're not even related to him.
Jack, go fuck yourself. Hard. Like I've mentioned in one of my other videos, I'm a fan of Mark Oshiro of Mark Does Stuff, and he's really opened my eyes to a lot of problematic issues that are largely just presented as simple truth and entertainment. And one of them is this idea that a child's biological relatives are the only ones with the right to call themselves his or her relatives. What about kids who are rescued from abusive parents? What about kids who are adopted? Are you going to go around yelling at them about how only the guy who stuck his dick out and the woman who got it stuck in her know what's best for them, huh, Jack? I hated the guy long before this scene, but this is the one that really assured there was no going back for me. Oh, and it turns out Aaron heard the whole thing for even more asshole points. The island story starts with a real miracle. After Daniel was caught lying in the last episode, everyone is acting like real people about this and demanding some answers. Granted, I don't know why they waited until the next day to do this, but even this much is more than I dared to hope for. And Jack's in no condition to regulate things, as he just gives some empty promises and then passes out. As Sawyer's little band goes back to the beach, they happen to pass right over the place where Danielle and Carl were killed, and Miles senses the whole thing. Boy, the island sure does seem to have gotten a lot smaller this season. And then he finds the bodies just to crush the hopes of anyone who thought their deaths were ambiguous. Juliet figures out that Jack has appendicitis, meaning he's in a lot of pain and there's no easy fix. I approve this development. They need supplies from the staff, and out of everyone here, the only people who know what the stuff on Juliet's list is are Daniel and Charlotte, which is a little odd since the only ones we hear about are clamps and sutures. I'm no medical expert, but I'm pretty sure I could pick those out. Of course, the real reason this happens is so the episode can be padded out with a long, complicated discussion over whether they can be trusted, after which they go on their merry way. Rose is naturally worried about this whole thing given that people generally don't get sick on the island and typically the opposite, which concerns her, although she doesn't seem to feel that her cancer is back. Yeah, I'm still upset about that. Oh, and this whole exchange, never mentioned again. Jack decides he wants to be conscious during the surgery, watching it with a mirror, and he wants the person holding the mirror to be Kate, just because. I don't like you. At the staff, Daniel has a weird romantic bit with Charlotte which will never go anywhere and only exists so Jin and Sun can talk in Korean about it, and Jin can notice Charlotte reacting like she understands them. Artificial Writing 101, ladies and gentlemen. Frank runs into Sawyer and co. and tells them to hide because Kimi's coming. Then we get the old cliche of the baby almost giving them away, but Frank gets them out of there before Claire has to kill him, like anyone thought the show would go there anyway. When everyone gets back from the staff, Jin confronts Charlotte over her speaking Korean, and by now he's so over people evading questions that he threatens to break all of Daniel's fingers if she doesn't acknowledge that she knows what he's saying. We'll make a Saeed of you yet. In exchange for his keeping quiet about this, although I don't know why he thinks other people knowing it could hurt Charlotte, he wants her to get Sun on the next helicopter trip. Jack has his operation and they really want us to think he might die here, and it is just not happening. At least we get to watch Jack in a lot of pain that is entirely his own fault until Bernard knocks him out against his wishes. Claire wakes up to see Hillary as Christian holding Aaron, but who could possibly care about anything involving her? Instead, we get the shocking development that Jack's going to be okay. Oh, my heart was in my throat over that one. And Juliet tells Kate about the kiss from the other woman and says he only did it to prove to himself that he's in love with Kate. Yes, really. That is literally what she says. It's not even a metaphor anymore. This is Twilight we're watching right now. Sawyer wakes up to discover that Claire has wandered off with Hillary, and she left Aaron behind. And not even right next to Sawyer and Miles, but way off in the middle of nowhere, and they only find him because he starts crying. Yeah, just look at how much better a mother she is than Kate, huh, Jack? My score for Something Nice Back Home is 2 out of 10. Most of the island story is wasted threatening to kill off a character we know won't be killed off, and then the flashbacks seem to be devoted entirely to showing us just how much of an asshole he is, so there's no relief through the whole thing. The one part that saves it from being among the worst are the scenes with Miles, which I mostly didn't cover just because I wasn't feeling the stamina to praise this crap even that much.